Right. So let's do it again. Previously, we spoke about different rates. Do rate, a parent and child relationship. Futex rate, it's essentially a lock contention. It's thread putting themselves to sleep or trying to have access to a shared resource and realizing that it's not available, so they put themselves to sleep. All right, and they wait for their turn. And then you have a pipe synchronization. It's a communication between two processes or threads. All right. And what happens here is we investigate structurally if whether things are okay because they are unidirectional. So you need to have two processes or threads holding the pipe. And then we spoke about a nanosleep. Nanosleep is essentially a process that says, hey, put me to sleep. I will wake up after a certain amount of time and do the work. And how does it become a nanosleep? It's when this interval or the duration of time that it goes to sleep, it's very, very short. So it keeps going to sleep and waking up. So it thrashes the kernel scheduler. Right. Now, what we're going to talk about here today is socket data wait. Or at least that's how I landed, or identify it. It's data waiting over the socket. Um, that's the whole investigation that we need. We need to test the socket if whether it can be received, if whether the socket has established properly with the other end or whoever's holding this end. All right, it's more or less the very same thing. It's all about communication. It's all about waiting. If that person is not doing work, where is it waiting and why is it waiting? That's what we're investigating. So in this case, we are dealing with. There we go. Let's create a simulation so that we can run the 0. We could say even say 10. Okay, great. And then here we are connecting to what we just created. There we go. Now we need to hunt this. We know for a fact that it's NC, so that should not be a problem. Okay, what are you doing? I'm sleeping. Okay, what are you waiting for? Pulse schedule, time on. Okay, pulse schedule, event driven. So you're waiting for something in order for you to do work. Okay, brilliant. Okay, let's try to find the length line. Great. So this is what I'm utilizing to communicate to over the wire. Okay. Grab FD, and this reveals the absolute truth. So imagine that you had a connection, or you had an alert that says, "Hey, there's a problem. There's high latency, or there's a problem with this connection right here. Please do better investigation. Try to find out the root cause of what is happening." What I just did right here, I'm literally showing you the wire. Okay, what we have is the connection between these two entities has been established. So think of this as a phone call between you and your friend. You call, they accept your call. The line between you two has now been established. It's live. And what you say should get to this end and be received, and what you say back and your reply should also do the very same. Here, this tells us the connection between these two entities right here is live, and what was sent to our local machine has been consumed, and what we send over also has been consumed. So there's no backlog pressure. There's no data waiting to be taken or received by these two entities. This connection right here, crystal clear. This is how it's supposed to look like, or this is how a healthy connection looks like. And I'm very glad that we also have this right in here. This is what happens when something is sent and is not being consumed, and this is by our local machine. So OBS connection between there's a connection. I think this is for streamers. And given the fact that we're not streaming, I think the remote server said, "All right, listen, kudos. It sent it's called fin pocket, the final pocket to say, listen, I'm done. We're done with this conversation." It's essentially your friend chopping the phone, and you on this side, you also need to end the call. So if you don't end the call, we still have a live connection, but that doesn't have a reader or a writer. And so in this case, OBS or my machine hasn't really, or the application OBS on my machine has not sent the closed this connection. It's closed. It's waiting for it close from the OBS on my local machine. That's why. And this is 64, I think 64 bytes saying bye bye, and our local machine has not said anything. This right here, I think it's called application leak or file descriptor leak. Application file descriptor leak. Right. Thanks for that. Okay. So now we know for fact that the connection between these two entities has been established. There's no backlog of data. Our application receives anything that our application receives anything that was sent over it, and what we sent went over the wire. But now, as I sit here, in most cases, you do these things and you say, oh, okay, so the application has been established. But how about the livelihood of the wire? Can data hit the wire and be transmitted? Sure case, now we can say for a fact that, well, okay, the connection is established. There's no backlog. The receiving queue is empty. The sending queue is empty. But the livelihood of the wire. Can data hit the wire and be transmitted? And this is where we introduce TCP dump. Alright, v minus I any. Alright, host. This is who we need to listen to. Okay, and the port is the port. Boom. And I don't know if you recall, when we asked this process right here, hey, what are you waiting for? It said procedural timeout, event driven. I'm waiting for something to receive in order for me to do the work. Now let's test this. Well, this clarifies it. This is the packet. Bye bye. There we go. Look into this. It has been a while since I read like raw TCP dumps, but I would like to believe this is acknowledging, and then this is pushing and acknowledging, and then so this is a communication between these two entities. This one sends the data. This one says write and acknowledges, and then the other end also acknowledges. It's a communication. It's a three-way communication. Send, receive. I received. Okay. Something like that. It's been a while, so I'm not going to be able to properly break this thing down and make sure that you understand what you're currently seeing. But this right here, boom, 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 and as you can see, it's a communication between two entities. There's two entities, my friend. All right, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is how you test the connection between two machines, essentially. Our local machine versus the server, our local machine, your phone versus your friend's phone. You see the whole gist. But same as with anything, we did build the script for this. Okay, and essentially how you go on about it is skWait hunter.sh to find the PID. Boom. My God. So what I just showed you previously, it's everything that you need to do manually to hunt for if whether there's if whether the connection has been established, if there's receiving queue is empty, or what's happening with the connection. Okay, and you would most definitely, I wish I had something that I could do to showcase to you. But anyway, so here we are. So the script essentially does all the work for you. It hunts and find out what the process is running on, procedure, we already identified. And it tells you why. That is very healthy. Event driven, process idle, waiting for event. Okay, connection health. Connection has been established. The receiving queue, empty, both are clear, operates whatever it is sent its way instantly. Sending queue, healthy, outbound, very clear. Our kernel managed to send whatever it is that we wanted to send outside. And this is the IP address of our local machine, IP address of the remote server, and then the wire matrix. Okay, and the best way I can explain the remote window, think of let's default to our phones. Okay, your phone has I think, and I've never used this. Calling someone and them not being able to reach the phone and not being able to answer your call, and then you leave a message. I think leaving a message has like a space or a limit to how many messages you can leave. This is essentially that. If I'm trying to call you, you don't take my call, well, I'm trying to leave you a message. If you're receiving whatever, your mailbox is full, you're not gonna get my message. This is exactly that. So after testing the live wire, so we test if whether the connection has been established. It has. The livelihood of the wire. Can data hit the wire? In this case, I think I have a script that does that. Just haven't really compiled it very well. Oh my god. Yeah, it's just one of those. So in this case, what we're testing is your box email box empty or not full? What we want is to find that it's not full, so that we can leave what we need to leave, and you will be able to digest it later on, or as you get to it. So if at any point that we're trying to say, well, is the connection has been established, great, but can we send data? And we find that, well, their buffer or their million box is really full, so we can't send them anything. The problem is not on our end. The problem is they are not digesting what we have sent, or they are not digesting, they're not dealing with what we have sent very quickly for this connection to be very stable, or for us to constantly be in communication. That's exactly that. And TCP timers, every connection has a TCP timer, meaning after a certain amount of time, I think a packet is sent to verify if whether the connection is still verifiable. If that is not the case, then your machine, I would like to believe, or it should be coded that it should terminate the connection between these two entities. Right? So this is just where we are. And the scripts are very easy. I think if there's any, I'll add into them. I'll learn other things and figure them out and make sure that they are better. So this is just where we are. Then this is just what we have learned, and this is what we make of all of this. Chewing through the machine or the kernel was made to be this scary thing. But it's when you sit down and you really break things down and you learn, you realize that it's not that's not really common. It's just a very logical machine that is very efficient and it's doing what it was supposed to do. But here and there it breaks, and what I'm just showing you, or what you've been seeing me do, I think it falls under debugging. Yeah, it's more like a car. If a car breaks down, you have a diagnostician. I think that's the word. Who gets here with their washes and plug the damn thing and tell you, well, yeah, well, piston 4 or injector 4 and 3, it's not. They are over injecting petrol, whatever the case may be. You see, that's the whole thing. So the scripts are essentially that. But I will most definitely have to like package them better and release them to the wild. So from me to you, take care.